Welcome back to another episode of What's on Your Plate. I am Sarah, your host. Today's episode is a little different than most that have come before it. This is not so much an interview or conversation as it is a memoir, told by the person who has traveled the path described here. Betsy has bravely shown up here at What's on Your Plate to talk about the dark places she has walked through and how only recently she has found the light and love and support needed to break free of the past and finally start living and working towards the healing she's always deserved. Betsy really left a lot of herself in this space. She trusted not only me, but all of you as well, to be vulnerable and real in hopes that it will help others feel less alone and maybe even be a catalyst for someone else finding their own way to the light. It's not easy for people to open up like Betsy has. She shares things that might be a trigger for you in your own wellness. Mental and physical abuse, suicide, childhood traumas, animal abuse, and sexual abuse are all mentioned here. Please take care of yourself and opt out of this one if you think it may be harmful to your own mental health. If you're able, please open your hearts and help me welcome Betsy. Hey everybody, thanks for stepping back into What's on Your Plate. I'm your host, Sarah, and I am here with my friend Betsy today. We're talking about life's journeys, where we were then, how far we've come into the now, and what it took for us to get there. Welcome, Betsy. Thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm giving you a virtual hug.
Thank you
for being here with me.
Thank you. I'm excited.
I'm excited that you're here. I feel so fortunate that I have connected with you and that, we've had different dialogue during the time that we've known each other. And I'm really happy that you decided to join me today on the podcast because I just feel like you're such an inspiration and you show so much relentless diligence for yourself and for the people around you to just step into their worth and their whole heart. And I'd love for you to just share with us how your journey has evolved over the years. If you take us back to a time that was a little more challenging for you, please share.
Okay. So, well, when you grow up and you're a child, a lot of things resonate from being a child into your adult life. So when I grew up, my mom and dad, they got a divorce. My dad was abusive to my mom and to me and my brother in a mental way. He didn't physically hurt us, which he physically hurt my mom. So, but I had a brother who was 3 years younger than I was. And I'm talking like this is probably when I was about 8 years old. My brother is 3 years younger. So when this happened in my house, all this destruction, all this mental abuse, I had to protect my brother. I felt we would see this horrible stuff happening, and I grabbed him, I hugged him, but I was a little child too. So as we went through this, we grew up. My mom had to work. My dad would not pay child support. Very rough. He did a lot of things that I can't forget in my adult life. Like he has children, and just to get back at my mom, he turns our heat off. He cancels her credit cards. He makes her life impossible. And my mother is a very beautiful, smart woman. Actually, I didn't go to college. She taught me how to do medical billing, which sustained me through my whole life, until I got on disability. But so what happened is my brother and me were home always by ourselves. It gave me a lot of time to always pinch his arm, or chase him around the house. But then I find out he's in the weeds with his friend, like sniffing paint. And how can I control that when I, I am a little girl too, trying to act older? So that led my brother onto a destructive path since he was probably, like I said, 7 years old. Um, oh, so, okay, so I tried to protect him and I couldn't. We got older. My mom side, we have mental illness. I have it. She had it very bad. My mom did commit suicide in 1985. She was 42. And I believe she did that because my brother, he committed suicide in 1983. So he was 18 years old. And as a mom now, I can't imagine being my mom and listening to my brother always make plans to try to off himself. She would come home. I lived with her like 15, 14. I lived with my mom. Um, we had to go to my dad's for a while. That was awful, but my mom got better. She came and got us, and we went to Chicago to live. But before I went to Chicago, I met my husband, Mike. We met at Point East in Linwood when we were, like I said, 16, 17. So in this time, I met Mike and his family, and I lived in Chicago. He lived in Stager. I would take 2 hours to get here, to get to him on a bus, on an L, to take another train to get to Richmond Park, and then wait for him for 3 hours because he was only, 17 years old, 18. So that's how I found Mike. And I decided to move out of my mom's house because I couldn't take it anymore. Even though I was 16, 17, way back then, it was easier to live, to move out, I guess. I was way too young, but I knew if I stayed, I may want to do this because it was so sad to watch my mom and brother. I come home, and he's in the tub, trying to do something. So I got out of that situation. When I moved out, I got my pillows, covers. My mom was on the phone. I said, "Bye, Mom, I'm leaving." I left. I just left. I didn't tell her. I I did eventually make friends with her again, but that was a tough time. If my daughter would have done that to me, I don't know how I could handle it. And my mom's dealing with my brother. My mom's dealing with being a single mom, trying to feed us, trying to keep a roof over our heads, while my dad always just kiboshed her and always made our life miserable. So so that's how my childhood went. I'm always back and forth between my dad and mom. My mom always mentally ill. I also found her a couple times in the hospital, where I'm sitting there and she wakes up and she just starts crying because she didn't succeed. And she sees me sitting there as a young teenager. And she told me she did not want to be here. So those were, all that's what I went through, these little things of very traumatic issues. So when I lived with my dad too, when I was young, my brother and dad were mean to animals. There's one thing I know, if you are mean to animals, you can do anything. You can kill someone. You can make someone just emotionally exhausted. He was very jealous person of my mom. So when they got a divorce, like I said, he made us miserable. My mom got married again. I got a stepfather. It was cool. He loved me. He loved my brother. And unfortunately, through those years, my mom and him got a divorce. And I lived in Dyer at this time. And that's why it's funny, because Gina lives in Dyer. And I have so much past in Dyer, and Gina crossed my path at a certain time. So we had him. I met Mike. I was in love with the first guy. He's my first guy. I have 1 year at Lake Central. Then I have 3 years of in Chicago, not seeing Mike. He doesn't like talking on the phone, all that stuff. But we did go out 12 years. We've been married 34 years. I've been with him over 40 some odd years. So I'm grateful because my husband stayed with me. I'm told by a lot of people, you are so lucky, because a lot of men will just put you to the side. And I gave him a hard time. I don't know if you know anybody with chronic pain. So as I grew up, in the times my mom and brother committed suicide, I also had back pain. I had back pain that kept getting worse and worse. And I'm sure I know now about manifestation, when you have that in you. And a lot of, like, my dad didn't believe in therapists. My mom and brother needed a therapist, and he didn't believe in it. So it was very difficult for my mom to get help. But she made it. She sustained me and my brother and herself until my brother left, and she couldn't take it. And I believe that's why that she couldn't handle it anymore. And she always attracted men that were evil, that were mean, you know. So I guess I'm lucky with my marriage. I met a man who wasn't evil, who was very sweet, who family took care of me. They brought me up and I wouldn't have made it, I don't think, really, Sarah, if I didn't meet Mike. I don't believe that, because he taught me a lot in these last years. And I still see a pain therapist. I found a pain therapist when I found Gina. And as I'm growing up and the pain's getting worse, everyone's telling me I need to get support. I need to go see therapists. I need to talk about what happened in my past. So, yeah, I am a very strong. I do what I have to do. I saw eight therapists. I told them everything that happened. I cried every time. What was happening with that type of those therapists I was seeing, all they did was make me, like, very much sadder. I couldn't get out of it. They were trying to help me. I was way too young. I was in my late 20s seeing somebody, and until now, and I'll be 60 in December. So a lot of times I had to be strong, and I guess I learned that from my mom. I did. My mom was one strong lady, and even though it was very sad what I was going through, I handled it with the help of my husband and his family and my family. But I still am very shy. It's hard. I'm shy, I think, because like I did in my bio, I still feel when I talk about this, I don't know how people are going to react. You know, they can either say, wow, she's really like way out there. God bless her. I I don't know how I made it through all the times. And yes, you know, when I was sick, I was in bed most of the time. So my daughter, I got married in 1988. My daughter was married or born 1991. So in that time, my husband, I thought getting married, wow, woo, gonna be a great time. Well, I got back from my honeymoon. I couldn't believe it. I was like, no way, I didn't get married. How did I do this? He's crazy still. And I'm crazy. So anyway, he wasn't around much because he works. He's a he was born in Italy. His parents, they are workers. All they want to do is feed you, the Italians, and they want to help you. And my mother-in-law took care of me so much. This was very hard for her to see, somebody like me whose dad had MS, whose dad was he did have MS, and it got he was in Oak Forest Hospital for like 8 years in bed. That made him even more evil and mean. Like my daughter was born in 91. So when she was about 5, I took her to visit him, and she was so scared. She hid in the corner, and he's like, stop being a brat. He goes, get over here. I vowed to my daughter that day I would never bring her back there, and I would never have to make her do something that would be like this. It was very hurtful, just very sad for me and my daughter, and I'm sure my dad. I was just reading something I wrote, and I wrote, I have feelings for my dad that aren't normal. Most people love their dad. Most people, their dad are their hero, their dad you want to follow. And I didn't feel that way since I had been so little. So after my mom couldn't take care of him, so she had to send him away to Michigan City to her brothers because he was hanging with the wrong people. So here I go again. I'm like, but so she took a she he went to Michigan City with my uncle. Little did my mom know my uncle was an addict. Okay, my uncle was a very bad druggie that my brother was living with. So we have two people that are psycho that are wanting to hurt each other, chase each other around with scissors. I hear stories that are freaking can't believe it. So so my brother never he always hung with the wrong people. Downers were his thing, and if you do that, you don't even know what you're doing. He actually ran over a Burger King sign that you talk into. He didn't know what he was doing. My mom put him in hospitals to help him. If you don't want help, you're never going to get it. So he never wanted help, even though he was seeing a therapist and doing all this. He wanted to live with Lucifer. I didn't realize what that was at the point I heard it. He wanted black roses, for his funeral. How do you live with being a mom when you're listening to your son tell you how they want their life when it ends? And he was to do it. He called me one night, the phone 2 in the morning. I didn't answer. Some reason I didn't answer. I guess that night he called my mom. My mom had to hang up, but he did shoot himself. And if my mom didn't hang up the phone, my mom would have heard that. So, so my brother's gone. My mom's traumatized by her whole life. Even when she was young, she was sexually abused, and they didn't have food. because of no money, an alcoholic father. My father was an alcoholic. So I guess that's why, he did a lot of things he did. But as I'm older, I'm thinking, what was his life? If my dad was so like this, he's mean. He used to tie my dog's nozzle in his paws. He would let the dog squirm, and I'm crying, and they're telling me just be quiet. Him and my brother, just be quiet. Just sit there. What my dad had to go through to become the person he was had to be very difficult. And this is the first time I'm ever giving my dad leeway in all these years. My dad passed away in 2000. And it's taken me all these years to try to forgive him a bit so I can get it off my shoulders and my heart. Because when my mom died, I thought that was it. I thought, I can't do this. I can't. Even with Mike, my dad would then call me and tell me he wanted to commit suicide. And I'm like, you know what, Dad, do it. Hang up the phone. And that sounds really mean, but I have had 3 people call me now telling me they want to die, and I want to live, you know. So that was very difficult growing up. But I don't know. I did make it. I moved out. I made it. It was hard. I got a job. Okay, so my mom passes away. I was doing billing for emergency rooms. My life, I was growing up. I was becoming a woman. I love my boyfriend, my husband. I love my job. But working with 40 women, it's really difficult. Way back then too, everybody just did, and I it was very difficult. So I quit, right? I quit because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't get disability. I mean, I couldn't get workman's comp because I quit because these women were just too much for me. They were older than me. They were about all kinds of stuff I didn't like, but I love my job of billing. So I ended up quitting there after my mom died. I stayed home for a while. I then knew I needed a job. I ended up getting a job in Homewood. For about 10 years, I worked for an OB-GYN, and before I was married. So this job was wonderful. I love doing good things. I love being able to make that doctor money by what I knew, how I build, how I did my job. But I was very weak at that time. I was very vulnerable. So that job turned into sexual harassment. Wow. Did I ever think in my whole life that I would have to go through this? I was never taught how to deal with this. I was young. I somehow this so the doctor, it wasn't by the doctor. She was wonderful. It was by the husband, the manager. And what he would do is I'm the boss of what I do. I call for collection, I get your insurance, I need your payment plan when you're having a baby, I bill your insurance. So I signed the doctor's name always. So I always had to clear it with him. And what he did to make this all look like it was normal, he would always have you come in his office and shut the door with everyone. And everyone just thought you sit in there, you talk with him, and he wants to know why you're giving up on this collection account, why you didn't get the insurance information a long time ago. So what he did is made my life miserable. But I let it happen because I didn't know what to do, because I had a hard time getting a job after my mom died. I couldn't do things I was able to do, dictation and all that. So that really 10 or 8 years of sexual harassment. I didn't tell my husband. he never, it never went any farther as just getting too close. He's wanting me to go places, even bring my daughter, who is a baby. And it just was awful. Sexual harassment. I finally told my husband when I heard our supreme judges being accused, one judge being accused of sexual harassment. The woman, she knew every detail. She knew everything, and everybody is telling her she's lying. Let me tell you, I can tell you almost every detail of every situation I was in that little room that I was trapped in, and I couldn't leave until he was done whatever he was doing to my brain and my vulnerability. So as the years went on, it was, I don't know how I dealt with that. I don't know. I never admitted it. I always put that way back here until I told my husband, and then my husband didn't handle it very well, in the fact that, you know, now he's much better. He didn't believe that women get themselves in these situations. No. So yes, that sparked a very hard conversation. But we talked about it. Right now, it's all good. And so, yeah, I got out of that job. The doctor I was working for, I was in so much pain, and I dealt with women. I took blood pressure. They had babies. It was so happy. But if you have migraines and I was doing some types of drugs, probably I was smoking. I was doing cocaine, probably. I was doing pills, anything I could do to black out everything. And then the pain caused me. So as I quit my job, I didn't quit, I left. I did get disability. It took me a long time. And I'm thinking, how can people get on disability that really don't need it? I can do this. I am a person who can get on disability, and I can then maybe work my life out. So yes, the day I was going to a lawyer is the day I got a letter from disability. They accepted me, 1997. So Sarah, from 16 till 1997, I worked, I was busy, I was happy. I had a daughter. And all of a sudden I'm at home and I'm in pain, and I have a daughter who is needing me. And I had surgery in 94. The doctor who I saw, he's telling me this is all in my head, this pain. I tried to get help for it because I was in pain. Yes, it had something to do with my mental status, but I was in emotional, physical pain. He told me, so what he did was a herniated disc. Oh, you have a herniated disc. This is going to fix you. He did surgery. I walked on pain for 9 months. He told me it was all in my head, and I have a baby, and I should be a woman about it and just stop being a baby and take care of your life. This is by a doctor who I'm in my 20s, 30s, maybe. So he ended up doing that, walking on pain 9 months. I went to get a second opinion. I was walking on a collapsed disc this whole time. So that pain got verified. It took a long time. So then they had to do tests to make sure that's what it was. The test I had to be awake for, and it was a collapsed disc. So I had surgery in 95 for a fusion in my low back, and I got cut on the side. I'm cut from my front all the way around to my back. They couldn't go in the front, they couldn't go in the back. So it was so bad, the inflammation. So that surgery took me a very long time to get to heal from. I never did. So I still am on disability to this day, but I am the best I've ever been. I somehow found that that power, that love in me, that person, that I am a good person. I knew this. And nobody told me this. Nobody said, "Wow, Bets, good job." Or when I did take my daughter to school, though, when I didn't have to work when my daughter had to go to school, everyone could see, though, I was in so much pain, and everyone was wonderful. They helped me. So I got through years preschool through 8th grade with help from the family of the school my daughter went to. It was a Catholic school. So somehow, as this is going on, and I'm very sick, I want to volunteer at the school. So that made me the happiest too. But what turned out to be, it took me a long time to talk the secretary into letting me in, because she did her work a special way. She did it promptly, she did it correctly, and she didn't want to trust anybody else until she got to know me. And then she said, "Yeah, come in and help with the kids." I saw my daughter. Everything made me happy. But what I did was overdo it. I stayed longer than 2 hours. I stayed 5 hours. And all of a sudden, it turned into this thing. I'm in pain again. I can't do it again because I pushed myself too much. So that is what I did. I found these 8 therapists. None of them were pain therapists. So I ended up, okay, so I was inpatient a couple times, 2 times with mental illness. So in this whole time, I did have depression very bad. I called it depression, and it was a black hole deep depression. Everybody could tell me anything they wanted, and I couldn't accept it. So I don't know. All of a sudden, I found a website with Gina in it. She has so many, and I followed her for years, and I just loved her card. She had Right Back at You with Gina Bell, and oh, it's magic. That's a new one. And then so what I saw is such power, how I could change if I could just stick with something, because I couldn't stick with anything because I was on narcotics 5 years. I mean, 25 years. I was on the worst narcotics. And back then, they gave you 180 narcotics at one time. Now, give a person who's in pain, who people know you're in pain. So I'm in a web of taking pills, giving other people wanting my pills because they just want to get high, me wanting my pills just to black me out. It was my husband is no way even close to what I was going through. He didn't understand. He took pictures of me when I was eating and sleeping. It just was awful. And my daughter grew up through this. My daughter, how I sustained everything and brought my beautiful daughter up the way she is. Everybody tells me what a good job I did. Everyone, she's beautiful. She's 32 now with her own baby, with my grandchild. So to get prepared for this in my life, I had to get my shit together. It was like, and I'm talking in 2020, I was still like, I wasn't on as much narcotics. I did get myself off them by myself. I couldn't believe it, but I did it. Um, and so with my daughter now, oh, it's really difficult because she grew up with me being in bed. When we moved in this house, she was 10 years old. And even at 10, Mom, can I have my friend over? Mom, I want to sleep over. Mom, my husband is like, no, your mother's sick. You've got to, no, you can't have anybody. It was horrible. It was just horrible to see my little girl go through this. And me being mean, I was mean because of my pain. Her having to go through tantrums that I threw when she was little, I remember them. And it's when your child is involved, it's really difficult. So I see how my mom had a hard time. So I am still to this day trying to get my daughter's trust. I do have it, but I don't believe I do all the way, but it's working out. My granddaughter is a beautiful, beautiful child. Oh my goodness. So my daughter got married in 2020. I'm really sick. How am I going to be the mother of the bride? There was no way. And that was during COVID. So then her wedding got canceled. I'm like, great, I have one more year now. So what I did, I found a pain therapist in Chicago. She was referred to me like 3 years before I went to her. I didn't think I needed her. Then Gina Bell came in my path. So I got two people that started telling me what a beautiful person I was. What how calm I am, which no, I'm not behind doors. Oh boy. So I don't see this. I can see it better. But people, even, okay, so doing things with Gina and Tears and Tool, I learned that women go through a life, men go through this life of childhood, and all of a sudden you're a teenager. However you deal with that, then all of a sudden you're an adult. You need to get married. It says you get married, you have a child, you do it all in a specific order. Well, for some people that just doesn't work. So it was hard to put my stuff out there because I thought a lot of people really don't they I don't want to be felt sorry for. That's how I feel sometimes. Like even talking now, it's like, God, look, listen to all you're saying, but listen to all I'm saying and look at me now. And I have people that tell me good things now, and I have my own right back at you. It's called Right Back at Ya with Betsy. Gina gave that to me because she had many more things on her horizon. So, and now I love that. That is truly how I learned I am worthy. And like Gina said, trying to fit yourself into someone else's life, telling, especially me, doctors telling me, I'm not looking at you, you're a walking lawsuit. You need to get help. And all I was doing was trying to do that. But I did end up with a doctor of 30 years. He is my savior, and I made it because of him. I still have him today. He's he if you ask him about me, he'll tell you about me in about 10 minutes, and he can say all I said in that hour in 10 minutes about my medical, because I still have chronic pain. I still have fibromyalgia. I have 2 failed back surgeries. I need 4 discs in my neck fused, which I won't do now because I'm living 60 happy. Now I know how to deal with my pain. I rest. I I have to be focused. When you're on pills, you're not focused. Do you know how many flights of stairs I fell down? How many walls I ran into? How many accidents I got into in my car? How I didn't hurt somebody else, I don't know. And I'm grateful, but it was a very tough time. And my husband was born in Italy, very strong Italian, like I said, didn't get it. So my last part of my story is I've been with Gina and I've learned how to talk calmer, how to just, even if I get all flustered, just relax. And I can now tell women too, I love helping and talking and giving advice and how, and it's so I'm so humbled to be viewed as people see me. And my husband also understands now. I got really real quick. I got really sick in April, this past April. I was still on all this medicine. I started throwing up like, oh God, 6 p.m. I didn't stop till the middle of the night. I got myself so sick that I couldn't get out of bed for 2 weeks because I couldn't breathe. But I had a migraine that I couldn't go in the hospital because it's too loud. My husband took care of me. He fed me. I was the way my house is built. He built my house. He built my counters high. He built doors out from my bedroom that I could just walk out and take a breath if I'm doing not good. I have a pool. I have a hot tub. I have an indoor hot tub. My husband made sure that I have everything that I need to help with my pain. It does not take my pain away, but I have a toolbox of a lot of things that I do to help me. So yeah, I'm grateful that now right back at you with Betsy is there. And I can't believe how my creativity comes out. I did go onto Instagram because I love to color and create, and I put my stuff there. This was about a year ago, maybe 2 years, not even 2 years. And I'm like, I'll never go on Instagram. Facebook is the only one. Then I'm on Instagram, and then I'm never going on TikTok. And then I checked TikTok out. That one I did close down because I can't do it. That's way too energy. I don't have that. So I love it though. I love listening to some people. So now I have, my own office here. It's like I have that's my rack of all my creative stuff that I make. There's my Earthsea, my skirt, and it's all I wear my skirt. I wear it on New Year's Eve when I go out. The first time I wore it, Sarah, oh gosh, my husband was like, he goes, this isn't Halloween. Oh man, I had a really quiet ride for an hour all the way to Four Winds Casino. Really quiet. And I'm grateful I kept my mouth shut because I thought that whole time. So it now I can wear my skirt and I could bring it out and I can do anything. I play in the rain. If I'm sad, that's one of my toolboxes. I get my skirt out. I listen to music. I will go outside and dance in the puddles, the rain. This is all what I learned from Tears and Tool. And Gina Bell is you know what she is. She's amazing, and I am grateful. I'm grateful for my life. She put me in this realm of women that I love. I am so grateful. My tears into a cake from you. Oh, I'm even shaking a little now. It was the best phone call. She's like, I think you need to get your skirt on and have your camera ready. I'm like, okay. I go out there and she gives me this beautiful cake. It was the tool was absolutely beautiful, Sarah. I get goosebumps. If you could, I get goosebumps every time I think of it. And I get goosebumps whenever I can go and get your baked goods and share them. I go to Cafe Fresco and I get everything and I want to share with everyone. And that's my life. If I feel I can give, I give. I am not, there is no place where I'll stop giving, where I'll stop not helping people, and I will never go backwards. And if I do, I know, I know I can get back again. I don't call it depression anymore. And it's been years. I call it, man, I've had a tears on tool day. and and that's what I call it. And now my daughter gets it, my husband gets it, my family finally understand the story, because when you ask about that story, it and I explain things, I go all over. I'm a ping pong ball, and finally after a while they understand. So yeah, that is it. And I also have one more person in my life I got to give thanks to. I have a private chef. She's a holistic person. She's in the Virgin Islands right now. I don't know if she's coming back. I hope she does. She's the one who taught me about the forest and the trees. And you can talk to the trees, and you go in the forest with bare feet on the sole of the dirt, and you just absorb what you are standing in the middle of. She sends me little things that just say that she calls me beautiful Betsy. And I've known her for about almost 2 years, and she's a Caribbean queen, and I love her. And she makes me strong, and she teaches me how to be stronger. And I love her in my life. I use her as much as I can because I want to get better. So I got better for my daughter's wedding. I did amazing. Then she said, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get better. I got even better because I got that sick in April. It got all the crap out of me. Me and my husband finally talked about mental illness. 40 years it has taken me to get him to understand. And I'm grateful I have. We saw this movie when I was so sick. It's called um, Mouthful of Air. And when you have a mentally ill person who can't go into a grocery store because there's too many soups and too many breads and too many people, and then you hear the story of how I went into Jewel with my skirt. That's why that story's so powerful, because I cannot go into Jewel. Gina told me once, Betsy, go in there and think of hot air balloons everywhere. Think of the colors of the vegetables. So see, I even need help with going to Jewel. So, and now with all the people I know, I'm grateful and I'm happy, and I'm only going to get happier. And I love our moon circle. I can't wait. I hope you can make it this year. It's amazing, and that's all. I am grateful. I'm a busha. I'm Polish, all Polish. My husband's all Italian. My daughter's half and half. She's a firecracker. So her daughter's really going to be a Roman candle, I tell you. So, so yeah, it's all good now, and I'm just working to get better. Wow, Sarah.
Betsy, wow. That was, I feel so privileged that you shared all that with me. I
Wow.
just feel like your transparency and the way that you just allowed yourself to be so vulnerable to speak your truth and to tell your story. I mean, it's just kind of left me in awe. It's just kind of left me in awe, the things that you've shared. And thank you. Thank you for being so generous with yourself.
You're welcome. This still resonates in me because I can't believe I brought myself all the way here. I mean, I can believe it, but I can't because of all you just heard. So, and now I just want to make everyone feel like you may, and to get out of bed every day. Oh, that is what I feel about wellness right now. I have to rest. Okay. I gotta do that. I hate it. I hate it. My pain therapist just told me, Betsy, 45 minimum minutes of rest for you. Because when I start going, I don't stop. And I love doing what I'm doing and I don't stop. And then guess who's in pain? And then I'm crying. And then I'm like, ah. So I have to learn not to get all the way up there, which I have done very well, I think. And to keep my mind deferred, this is what I do. I color, I create, I take pictures now. I never knew it, but I love taking pictures of nature, of the sky. If you look at my stuff, it's
You've had
more.
such an you've had such an awakening in these last couple of years of living your life, and it's like you've just really started stepping into your beautiful self more and more and more, and I can't wait to see how you evolve.
Well, in my bio, the last thing I said, I want people to see more than my pain.
I
And
love that.
I did not think those words were going to be so strong. Right now, those words are very strong to me.
I'm going to put something on your radar, and maybe somebody else already has because it seems obvious to me, but as you evolve and as you embrace your past and take hold of your future, I foresee a memoir in your future. I foresee a written memoir where you really just lay it all out and put it in print and share it with the world so that everybody has the opportunity to just see your light and experience just the
Oh,
beauty that you are.
thank you. And I must tell you, yes, 3 people have
I
told me.
bet. I bet. So you should take those repeated suggestions to heart and consider it because there's a reason people keep telling you that.
Yes. And Sarah, I will. I will. Because now I have time for it, right? I have time to do this. And what I've learned in these past years, like you said, the awakening. When I was young, I was happy and joyful. And the best move I love doing in Tears and Tool is the twirl, right? Me and Gina are at book signings, and I love to just twirl and spin and skip, and people really relate, and they really love to be in that space, like you said, that space. I do give myself space now. It's
It's
okay,
Yeah, it's very much of a I'll have what she's having kind of energy
right?
with the Tears and Tool. And for the listeners, Betsy's speaking about Gina Bell and the Tears and Tool and her skirt. And for those of you that have not listened to a past episode with Gina Bell, she is the author of Tears and Tool book, and as well as the mastermind behind the movement itself and future projects that she has forthcoming with Taffeta and Tears. So those are all things to explore. And once you do, you'll understand why Betsy has been so inspired by Gina and her movement as well.
Yes, very much. So much
I
love.
loved this so much, Betsy. Thank you so much for sharing yourself with us today. And just keep being awesome, keep inspiring. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Sarah. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
This is a space reserved for truth, transparency, and transformation. My hope is that you take exactly what you need and just leave what you don't. I think much of our healing comes from being brave enough to speak our truths, to tell our stories, be them timeless or traumatic. For me, Betsy's story is a great reminder that everyone around us is fighting battles. Some we may be aware of, and others we may not. So just be kind. If nothing else, kindness. Till next time.